We be live.
Hello.
I missed that. Hi, everyone. Guys, so we are going to be covering news related to religion, atheism, secularism, drama, cultural drama, and all that stuff. Juicy stuff. What countries are we covering today, Susie?
Oh, we have stuff coming out of the United States, France, Nigeria, and again, the United States.
Which religions?
Oh my gosh. Well, this first one has to do with some Sikh separatists, so it's going to be juicy. Then Islamism, and then some Christian butthurt. We're closing out the show today with some good old-fashioned Christian butthurt.
I miss that. I miss, like, we have been doing so much Islam related stuff. We need to do a little bit more Christian.
Simpler times.
Yes.
Good old-fashioned Christian butthurt.
Yes. Oh, people are telling us where they're watching from. So I think Minnesota, and then we have that's Minnesota, isn't it? Why do you? This is so American centric. How am I supposed to am I supposed to know them states? But I do though. But how do you know that I know them? All right. So, and I decided, how do you pronounce this name? I went with Space Leah. Is that okay? Space Leah.
I guess that's better than what I was going to say.
Yeah, okay. And from Sweden, and we have Jean from Florida. Guys, everybody's watching from all over the place. Guys, I'm not going to continue telling where you guys are watching from all the time, for long, because we need to get started to do the show. But keep telling us. We're all from Israel. Look, and a trans flag from Israel. Amazing. But keep telling us in the live chat. I'll try to highlight them as I see them, but we need to get into the news. And also, by the way, Susie, is the news today tragic? I'm tired of tragic news. Is it a little bit more uplifting or ridiculous this week today?
Well, okay, the first story, our title news, is pretty wild. It's pretty wild.
Okay.
I mean, and I love just a good old, just wild story. You know what I mean? Then we get into just nonsense. Then we get into anti-Semitism, which we don't love. And then the end, we're just going out with good old-fashioned Christian hilarious butthurt. So
that's good. At least we ended with some fun. Okay. So should we get started with the first news?
Yes.
Okay, and is it clappable?
I mean, no one died. In fact, we prevented some deaths, so I think we can clap for that.
Okay, great. Clappable, I would say. First news.
India's Sikh assassination plot comes to America. So many people will remember the way that we reacted with shock and awe over revelations and allegations by the Canadian government that India executed an assassination plot in the middle of Vancouver, BC. Well, it's not just in Canada, y'all. It came to the good old US of A. So let's talk about it. A foiled assassination plot orchestrated by an Indian government official targeted Gurpratwant Singh Pannu, a New York-based lawyer and Sikh separatist leader, just 6 months after the killing of Sikh activist Hardeep Singh Nijjar in Canada, an event that strained, to put it lightly, Indian-Canada relations. This conspiracy was part of India's broader effort against Sikh separatism. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency, or DEA, played a role, intervening with an undercover agent to expose the plan initiated by a senior Indian official in the Central Reserve Police Force. Nikhil Gupta, a 52-year-old Indian national, faces charges of murder for hire and conspiracy with the potential of a 20-year sentence. He unknowingly involved the DEA agent in the plot, which included detailed information on Pannu and a $100,000 contract for the assassination. U.S. Attorney General Damian Williams emphasized the gravity of the situation, stating, quote, "We will not tolerate efforts to assassinate U.S. citizens on U.S. soil." This plot, part of a series targeting Sikh separatists in the United States and Canada, highlights the intricate dynamics of international relations and domestic security, especially against the backdrop of US-Indian relations amidst growing tensions with China. Gupta's arrest in the Czech Republic and his impeding extradition further complicate this international conspiracy. So, I can break down more of the timeline of events if we want. Go ahead.
First, two notes before you do that. First of all, I still can't believe this is real. The last time we did the news,
let's just talk about that for a minute.
I thought I was like a few days after we reported that this is happening, that India is sending assassins to kill people around the world. I was like, that did not happen. That was a dream that I had, that we did a news like that. There's no way this is a real thing. I actually had to go check on our channel. I was like, did we actually do this news, or this was a dream, a weird dream? Like, no, apparently it's real, it's reality. But before you break this down for us, some people don't even know what Sikh separatism is all about. Can we do you mind telling them what this is about?
Okay, so basically, this is a movement that really took off in the 1970s and 80s. Correct me if I'm wrong, but basically, it is an ethno-religious movement in which there are Sikh extremists who want to secede from India and take primarily parts of the Indian state of Punjab. Also, sometimes they want to take the parts of Punjab that are in Pakistan, turn it into its own country, and essentially rule it under Sikh religious law. So in a way, I kind of see them as like a Sikh ISIS. They want a Sikh theocracy, basically.
They are, by the way, these people are terrorists. I consider them to be terrorists. I don't endorse them being like killed like this, or hunted down or killed like this. But these, is it too harsh for me to call them terrorists? I think they're terrorists. I mean, they are separatists, and they are, as separatists, they are trying to challenge the border integrity, the official border integrity of a country, and we are against that. As true liberals that we are, we defend every country's border integrity. And we are against these people. We're against these people's ideology and actions. I don't know, but again, we don't endorse going and finding them like this. The fact, just for the same reason that we're against the challenging of the border integrity of a country like this, we challenge that, like we're against that. We're also against India sending anybody to a country of United and challenging the official way that country does law and order, and going around that and trying to take someone out. As good liberals, we're also against that as well. So
what about when they do these assassinations in Pakistan?
Who does the assassination?
India.
India does. I need to know that
they assassinate Sikh leaders in Pakistan.
Oh yeah, that's bad too.
Okay.
So I don't mind it when they do that to ISIS or Al Qaeda, because Pakistan's military is collaborating with them. So technically, the Pakistan's military is already doing illegal activity, and that will, I think, give India or anyone else the legal legitimacy to go and take care of business themselves, right?
Yeah.
So unless you could show me that Pakistan itself is supporting these terrorists, then I would not endorse that. So, but then I need to evaluate more of the details. So I don't know. But yeah, but what you were gonna add more detail? You weren't gonna give us a little more background before I interrupted you?
Well, okay. First of all, with the guy that was assassinated in Canada, I think he was a legit terrorist, because my understanding is that he was involved in a legitimate murder for hire case against Hindu priests still living in India.
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
Yes.
With this man in particular, this guy who is newly targeted, I'm not aware of him doing anything close to that level. So I'm not fully comfortable calling him a terrorist just based off of that. But I'm at the same time,
But he
I
was
don't like I don't like the Khalistan movement. The Khalistan movement is broadly violent. It's broadly very extreme. It's broadly not supported by most Sikhs actually living in India. It's representative of an extremist fringe, mostly living in Canada and the US. So I don't support the movement in any way, shape, or form. I just don't want to paint that label against this specific man, because I don't know if he has done anything that I think warrants that kind of a label. From what he says, you know, he just works towards passing peaceful referendums towards this kind of thing. Now, the referendums for secession that they want to pass have no legal bearing, and they do attempt to undermine India's security and sovereignty. So I don't appreciate that in any way, shape, or form. I just, you know, with this specific individual, I don't want to say that against him unless I really believe it, like I did with the Nijar guy who was assassinated in Surrey. So that being said, can I tell you the time, guys. So when Canada made these allegations against India, we still don't have a lot of information about the timeline of events and what happened. But we have a lot of details, alleged details about this plot here in the United States. And I don't know what I want to talk about first, the details of this, or if we want to talk about how this lends credibility to what happened in Canada. Because when this happened in Canada, Armin, you flipped a lid and you were like, I can't remember what you said, but you're basically saying one of these things has to be true. Either the Canadian government is lying or the Indian government is lying, and either is insane. So which do you want to unpack first? The series of events or that fact alone? Because now this is way more credible.
Yeah. I was like, this story is insane. I don't know which one is true, but it's insane either way, because either India actually sent agents into Canada to take out somebody. This is a violation of Canada's, on their land. It's unbelievable. This is an attack on Canada. And that would be insane. I could not imagine that India would be this stupid to do such a thing. I'm like, there's no way India would do such a thing. I mean, we criticize India all the time, but we didn't think India would go that far ever. So we're like, no, this is not real. But at the same time, we were like, Canada's intelligence is coming out and claiming that this happened, and they are putting their entire reputation on it. And the prime minister is coming out and saying, yeah, this happened and we condemn it. And like, also, it also seems impossible to me for Canada to come out and so clearly say that this has happened and it not have happened. It seemed unimaginable for me for them to so confidently say something like this without actually being true. So both scenarios seemed impossible to me, but one of them had to be true. And I didn't know which one to pick. And now we know which one to pick.
I was already leaning towards the allegations of the Canadian government being true, especially as more sources came out and saying that there were members of the Five Eyes who were basically responsible for feeding the Canadian government this intelligence. And then when other intelligence sources were either remaining silent or tacitly endorsing what Canada was saying, I was like, I think this isn't a joke. And then this happened, and as soon as this story came out, I was like, whoa, I need to investigate this immediately. And I immediately started, like, I didn't even go look through reporting on this. I started looking for the indictments. And I wanted to know, what district did this indictment come out of? This indictment came out of the Southern District of New York. Now, if you know anything about federal courts in the United States, you know that the Southern District of New York is one of the most powerful federal courts in the country. They have an extremely high conviction rate because they are extremely picky with the cases that they bring forward, and they're basically only going to bring forward things that they know that they are going to win. That means cases in which they cannot be established to have a reasonable doubt in a court of law.
Yeah, so Canadian government was not wrong. They were completely, it seems like they were completely right. And that makes it unbelievable. This is, you know why this is so bad? Because we need India as a force for liberalism. You know, we have the forces against liberalism around the world are right now the Chinese government, the Russian government, North Korea, the North Korean government, and the Islamic Republic of Iran. And against these forces, especially against the Chinese, the CPC, India is a major ally to Western countries. And it's so, that's why we want India to become more and more liberal and to be also in line with the standards and the values where liberal countries operate. And this is why it's such a shame when we see India behave like this, because it's such an important ally in this war. We want India to be on the side of liberal countries. And it's such a shame because India is going to become more and more powerful. And it's such a shame when it behaves like such a barbaric backward country. This is not a behavior that you expect from India. This is a behavior that you expect from the Islamic Republic of Iran. It's so shameful that this is what you see from India. It's so shameful. I don't understand what they're doing.
Well, here's the thing. The Indian government doesn't have to worry because not only does the assassination attempt against Iranian dissidents like Masih Alinejad prove that you can attempt to assassinate American citizens on American soil, contiguous USA American soil, and it will not change negotiations with your country. Okay. Thank you very much, Biden. Sorry, I had to. But here's the thing. The Indian government is okay. This man, okay, there are people in the chat saying that he has planned attacks against Indian consulates and threatened to do attacks against planes. If that's the case, then I agree that this man is a terrorist. Okay, let's be patently clear, especially with the consulate attack. It's Indian territory. So, okay. That being said, he's still a United States citizen. He's still a U.S. citizen. So they're still trying to run around assassinate U.S. citizens on U.S. soil. And here's the thing. This is not going to change relationships with India.
It will a little bit, I think. No?
I don't think so. We need India so badly right now. I don't think this is going to... And I was looking for analysts. Analysts are like, yeah, this isn't going to change anything.
Yeah, you're right.
Which is shameful. Because here's the deal. If you're we're now establishing a precedent that if you're a dissident, and this man obviously goes beyond being a dissident with the activities that he's allegedly organizing. But still, if you happen to just be a dissident against a country or force that we really need, or we have geopolitical negotiations or strategies with, then apparently you are less protected than other citizens. But at the same time, this is the nature of, I guess you might say, realpolitik.
So D is challenging that. D is saying, I think that news is propaganda. As far as I know, he called for a boycott of India airline, not a threat to bomb it. So we have to, depends on which one of these news is correct. So we have
thank you, D. D is like our in real time ombudsman. I love it. In real time fact checker. I love it.
D was also challenging. Yeah, D was also challenging me, like calling these people terrorists, right? So D is saying, are Catalonians terrorists? Well, the separatists in Spain. I don't think just wanting your own state equals terrorism. Yes, so
not necessarily.
I agree.
Catalonians do be on some bullshit.
I know, like I'm against them as well. I don't call them terrorists. I'm against separatist movements most of the time because I want to respect every country's border integrity. So even though I'm against their movement as well, I don't call them terrorists because I don't think that they have participated in terrorist activity. So, however, with these groups, again, it depends. I have heard reports that they do engage in inciting terrorist activities. That's why I consider them to be terrorists. But if that's propaganda and that's a lie, I could easily just take that back. I was like, oh, they're just a separatist movement that I'm against, but not terrorists. Easily, I could change that depending on which one of these reports about them is specifically true. And also, Shia was saying, it's shameful that you are labeling him as a Sikh separatist instead of calling him a terrorist. By the way, Shia, it's a shame on you that you don't know basic logic. There's no contradiction. You could be a terrorist and a separatist at the same time. So shame on you for failing basic logic, right?
Good
So
point.
there's that.
Yeah, that one could actually be a descriptor of the other.
Yeah, exactly. Not mutually exclusive. But I understand that you are a hardcore nationalist, and anything against India pisses you off, and you have to call them terrorists regardless of the facts. I say I call them terrorists depending on which facts are true about them, but you are just black and white when it comes to your analysis. We have a whole bunch of super chats. Do you want to check those? The Sid ones I think we should do first, and also fossils, because they are relevant to this news, and then let's do the ones that are not relevant to the news.
Okay, is anyone interested in learning the details and timeline of this assassination plot? Do we still want to go through that?
Let's do that. Let's do that, actually.
Okay. So this is what we know based on the indictment that was unveiled in the Southern District of New York. I can't talk again. And do not fuck with the Southern District of New York. They are not here to play.
Okay.
When I saw that this indictment came out of that district, I was like, oh, they were messing with the wrong one. So, according to the indictment, and again, guys, the indictment are all allegations until proven true in a court of law. I just want to make that clear. In early 2023, so I wrote down the timeline, an Indian government employee referred to in documents as CC1 began coordinating with others, including an Indian national named Nikhil Gupta, to plan the assassination of the Sikh separatist leader. And then in May, CC1 recruited Gupta to orchestrate the assassination. And Gupta had mentioned in his communications that he is involved in international narcotics and weapons trafficking. Then around June, Gupta, following CC1's direction, arranged for an associate to deliver $15,000 in cash in an advance payment for the murder to an undercover DEA agent. So they thought there was a dude that was a hitman. They thought they were talking to a dude to organize the murder. They were putting a good old down payment on the murder. And who are they giving that money to? Knock, knock, knock. It's the DEA. Okay. And so then in June, the Gupta provided the undercover agent with personal information about the victim, including their home address and daily detail routines. So providing specific surveillance about the victim, and as well as photographs. And then in June, we saw the assassination of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. And then, a few months later, we saw that the Canadian government came forward with their allegations against the Indian government. And the day after Nijjar was murdered, Gupta contacted the undercover agent that Nijjar was also a target and emphasized the urgency of assassinating this new victim. So after Nijjar was murdered, they were like contacting each other, basically being like, come on, hurry, 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 this guy's next. The other person mentioned in the indictment, CC1, messaged Gupta, and he stressed the importance of proceeding with the assassination plan. And then Gupta was arrested and detained in the Czech Republic in June. And then now at the end of November is when they brought forward the filing of the murder for hire charges. And so they need to extradite Gupta, who is an Indian national, to the United States for prosecution. See, this is how the system is supposed to go, instead of sending a hitman out to the Czech Republic to go assassinate Gupta.
Mm-hmm. So how do you answer this question? This needs to be a movie, by the way.
Why do U.S. and Canada harbor terrorists wanted by India? Now, with the situation with Nijjar and Canada, I don't know what the legal process was. I believe that there were attempts to extradite Nijjar to India to prosecute him for the murder for hire the plot that he had in India, and the Canadian government wasn't cooperating with that. Now, that could be a misunderstanding. It's been some time since I looked into that case, and in which case I do think that is a real issue and a flaw with Canada's policy towards its ally. I mean, they have a really important trade deal with India that's been, I think, like almost 20 years in the works or something. But with the U.S., with this victim of this murder for hire plot, I don't actually know if they have ever attempted to extradite this man or hold him accountable in any legal sense. I genuinely don't know if there were legal attempts to extradite him and to have a due process of law for him. So, and again, what are the allegations against him specifically? Is he involved in really legitimate, authentic, provable criminal behavior? In which case, he also needs to be held accountable. But again, with Nijar, I remember reading over that case and being like, damn, I really think Canada should have.
Yeah.
I really think they should have cooperated. But with this victim in New York City, I don't know if there actually were legal attempts to extradite him.
So many stupid decisions to go around, both Canada and India, but India the worst here, I think. We should go through the super chats though, because we need to finish this. Yeah. Let's do the Sid ones and the ones that are relevant to the story first.
Yes. Okay. Sid gave a super chat. Thank you, Sid, saying the guys India was targeting are truly terrorists, but the planning was hideous. One of the guys being targeted threatened to blow up Air India flights, asked Indo-Canadian Hindus to leave Canada. Yikes. Yikes. Yeah. Okay, but if that's true, you don't even need, because he's a U.S. citizen, you don't even need to extradite him to India to hold him accountable for that. If he's a U.S. citizen, that's a crime here.
Okay.
Just saying. Okay, another super chat by Sid. Indians are saying if the West can eliminate its terrorists in other nations, why can't India? How do you respond to that? Most Indians support this, actually. Well, we're supposed to have better relationships with these countries than many of the countries that we, like, going to go assassinate Osama bin Laden. Like, we weren't going to ever get an extradition on that kind of a thing. You know what I mean?
No, but U.S. shouldn't. Okay, so if you go eliminate a terrorist in a country that is not an ally and a supporter of a terrorist itself without the cooperation of that government, that's okay. For example, if you go and take out bin Laden, I think that's completely fine. Or if you go and take any other terrorist when it comes to a government that is not cooperating with you and supporting that terrorist, right? But if United States goes into Germany, which is an ally of United States, and takes out somebody in Germany without the cooperation of Germany's military, for example, or Germany's government, we will condemn that as well. Or if United States goes into Brazil and doesn't tell Brazil that they're there to take out some, and I know United States has done stuff like that, and as good liberals, we condemn those. We don't condemn United States going out into Pakistan and taking out bin Laden. But if United States went to Germany and take out the terrorists behind the back of the government in Germany, that is also something that we condemn. Yeah, I think we have a good standard here.
Yeah, Kenya saying, to be fair, the U.S. has done some shady shit to ally countries as well. Yet no one's questioning.
Yeah, we condemn, and we condemn that. We're consistent. Liberals doesn't mean that we support everything that the United States does.
Another comment by Sid, Indian argument is the U.S. Canadian citizens can't plot terror attacks in India. These terrorists are using U.S. Canadian citizenship as a cover for their terrorism and criminality.
Wait, so, Canadian citizen can't plot terror attacks in India. Indian argument is the
U.S.
The
last comment still applies.
These terrorists are using... Yeah, but I don't understand. That would still be illegal. You cannot just go and take another country's citizen like that without behind the back of that would be against international laws. What we're just supporting right now, whatever they're doing, it doesn't. You can't. This is whataboutism. just because they're doing something that it violates laws and needs to be punished and needs to be condemned, you need to do something about it, doesn't mean that you get to break international laws because they are terrorists. Even when dealing with terrorists, you have to figure out how to go about taking them out while being in line within, while being doing it in accordance to international laws. Because at the end of the day, when you're taking out terrorists, the thing that you're defending are these frameworks, are these methodologies, and these values. So if you drop those values and if you drop those standards in the attempt to take out those terrorists, basically the terrorists have been successful at taking out the foundations which are responsible for making your societies better than the societies that they.
God, can you just stop flexing on how you're such an old school liberal for once? Give us a break. Sheesh. Another super chat by Sid. Khalistanis don't target West, but they target India. Indian frustration is the callous attitude of West to Indian concerns. If Khalistanis want to establish a Khalistan in the West would have crushed it. Okay, first of all, the Khalistan movement is cringe, period. Also, if you look at the different ideas for maps of where the state lines would be, it's a horrible idea. It's a tiny little landlocked country in between two nuclear powers. Overall, 0 out of 10. Horrible idea. Someone else commented in live chat that another ethno-religious state is the last thing the subcontinent needs.
Yeah, okay.
I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah, but this doesn't. Again, we agree with you that this is a terrible movement, but you're wrong. The United States, if these people were trying to establish a Khalistan in the West, the United States would not. They would be arrested or something. They wouldn't be. There would be a court case or something like that, right? I mean, the proper way, even by the Western standards. What are you talking about? We had separatists that recently in the United States that were basically raised guns, and they were planning to attack. They were surrounded by FBI, and they were about to go to war with federal officers. And even then, the United States didn't start shooting at them and killing them. They surrounded them. They went and negotiated with them. They disarmed them and they arrested them. Nobody was killed. So we actually have that scenario just recently happening in the United States, and it didn't went down the way you're describing it. As bad as I understand, United States has done many bad things that we could condemn, but their standards are a lot higher than countries like Pakistan and the Islamic Republic of Iran, and unfortunately India as well. This is not how a civilized, liberal, modern country is supposed to operate. This is not. I'm sorry. This is backward. This is barbaric. This is how the Islamic Republic operates. And again, a lot of the examples that you have for United States behaving like this, it's a little bit old now. These are, we have to go a few decades back. United States has matured since then a lot. So again, I'm not endorsing everything the United States does, but United States today, the standards are a lot different from the United States just 50 years ago.
Okay, so we got more super chats. Okay, so first of all, a super sticker by Sakai. Thank you, Sakai. Good to see you this morning. Fossils is saying Hindu atheist means a square peg in a round hole. Well, it depends on what you mean. There are some people that just like to do the cultural stuff and the rituals. There's no problem with that.
Exactly. It depends what you mean by Hindu. Are you talking about belief or culture? So if you mean culture, then technically it doesn't have to be a contradiction.
And Asian American gave a super chat saying, a nation long united must divide, a nation long divided must unite. So it has ever been. Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Wise words, Asian. I like this. Reminds me both of Chinese history and Greek history. All Colors is saying, Slamus halal carnage, slamming brutal Islamic metal. Is this the name of a
Okay.
band that you're suggesting, or are you suggesting a band name to us, a potential band name? I can't tell.
Thank you.
Kenny gave us a sticker or €5. No comment. Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you.
Gasian said America is supporting the might makes right narrative every time they do shady shit and gives more ammo to wokeists. True. I don't disagree.
So here's the thing, though. I mean, we do condemn a lot of the things that the West has done, even though we also have to acknowledge that a lot of the things that they have done that we do condemn, if they haven't been done, we might have had a communist takeover of the planet by now. So we acknowledge that reality and condemn them at the same time. We have to condemn them because we're liberals, but we also acknowledge the reality of that alternative history.
You're like, but also the commies. Speaking of, Shifa is saying, you are just shamelessly justifying everything stupid US and Canadian governments are doing. I am never coming back to this channel ever again. Bunch of liberal imperialists. Cope, cry, and seethe more, you commie bastard.
We will miss you so much. We will never recover. Okay.
The line, I will never financially recover from this.
Emotional damage.
Thank you. Yeah. Sid sent us another super chat. Thank you, Sid, saying, I agree India should not do this, but India should make a better case that Khalistanis are truly extremists so the West also understand their ideology. Exactly, Sid Dave. Exactly. Okay. They are no different than ISIS, which want to inflict a partition. I agree.
They're no different that ISIS might be going a bit too far.
Okay.
I mean, they're similar to what they want, and
they haven't.
They haven't beheaded like 40 people on a beach.
Yeah. Okay. To be fair, but I mean,
last time I checked, they didn't like burn people alive or behead people on the beach, like. Yeah, but I understand what you're saying. I just think like it's not the same thing, even though it's bad.
That they want to establish like a fringe extremist ethno-religious state,
right?
And you also heard this comment.
Yes. So somebody was asking 16 something. I don't know how to pronounce that name. Asking. So do you think Israel don't have a right to assimilate Hamas leader in Turkey? No, they have a complete right. Okay, again, Hamas.
I think they assassinate.
Assassinate. Yeah, I don't know why that you said assimilate. Yeah, assassinate. They have a complete right, I think, to take out Hamas leaders. Again, remember, this is not a black and white thing. This is like a spectrum. Hamas is to Israel an existential crisis, and Hamas is trying to completely. It's not just a separatist movement. It's a group of people that are completely at war with Israel, and their entire goal is to wipe out Israel completely off the planet and basically commit genocide on every Jew and every Israeli wherever they can find them. Right. So that is a completely different story. Right. And again, Israel. And you also have to understand that when it comes to the world of politics, you have to play it smart. You treat your allies, your strong allies, differently than you treat countries that are technically you're in a relationship with, but you don't consider them as your strong allies. So Israel would not be dumb enough to do this without talking to a United States government on U.S. soil. So if a Hamas leader was in the United States, if Israel wanted to do something against that, they will probably do that with collaboration of the U.S. government. They wouldn't go behind their backs because they know how important of an ally United States is to Israel. And India needs to recognize, this is why this is dumb. United States is a major, major ally of India. So if India did this in Pakistan, I think we would condemn it a lot less. than such a major allied, if they do it to Canada, or it's more importantly United States. Like, who's more important in your relationships than the United States of America when it comes to India, especially against your greatest threat, which is China? So it's just dumb. It's just dumb. It would be dumb if Israel did that on US soil as well.
I mean,
But
yeah,
Turkey,
the
no. Go ahead.
Khalistanis are not pretty and nice, but I mean, they're not as big of a threat as China.
Yeah, they're not gonna. Yeah, they're not trying to destroy the entirety of India, basically, and commit mass genocide in India.
So Sid gave another super chat saying they are like ISIS. They did behead people in the 90s when the movement was militarized. They had brutal dress codes for women. They would hijack buses, identify Hindus, and mass shooting. Jesus.
So see how you yourself change the language. Now you're saying they are like ISIS. Before you were saying they are the same as ISIS. So you also change your language a little bit. Like ISIS, makes more sense than the same as ISIS. But yeah. Yeah, you have a point though.
Yeah, not gonna argue with you there. All colors. It was in regards to his super chat that said like Slamus or whatever. He's clarifying. I was suggesting to make a blasphemous death metal band with gory lyrics that take inspiration from Hamas. Well, hopefully satirizing Hamas and not taking direct inspiration from
it. We don't want to take inspiration from
let's
Hamas.
clarify that. Asian American, thank you for another super chat saying we should federalize NATO and the Quad. This $1 trillion military budget is not it.
Yeah.
And Sakai sent a super chat saying, will AR cover Ukraine news again sometime? Sure, I would love to. I mean, if you find news stories that you think would be relevant to us, you're welcome to send it to me. Just genuinely, in the places I go look for news, I don't see things covering Ukraine basically ever. So if you find something that's good that you think would be relevant to us, please let me know.
I mean, we are a pro-liberal channel, more and more becoming, it's not just an atheist channel. We're becoming a channel that is just defending liberal values. So we have an excuse to defend Ukraine and basically start talking more about Ukraine just because of that. Yeah.
Fair enough. Should we move to the next news?
Yeah. You don't want to read that? Oh, we got another super chat.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Sid. Saying Indian Prime Minister, State Chief Minister was assassinated by people who follow this ideology. That's true. They have conducted self-deletion bombings in India. India really hates this movement because of its history. I mean, it's all warranted. It's all warranted. Yep.
Yeah. We agree.
Canada should hate this movement a lot more than they do. It's actually ridiculous. Yeah. Why doesn't Canada know about this movement? Why don't they hate this movement?
Because they have been very successful in getting into Canadian politics. The way that their voter
Let me guess, predominantly on the left?
Yeah.
Shocking. Predominantly in socialist parties?
Yeah.
Shocking.
What is it with leftist and separatist movements? We got another super
fetish for any oppression narrative. Any oppression narrative, they're like, sorry, that was really crass.
That's good.
I get so angry.
That was perfect. Oh my god. We should cut that part out. That should be its own clip. Oh god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, we got 15 shekels from Jean saying, I would love to see a deep dive into this group's ideology, the Sikh separatists, the Sikh supremacists. Yeah, that'd be really interesting. Maybe we can find a video to react to. Yeah. because
All
more
right,
people
we
need
should
to
move on.
understand this. And Sid is right when he's saying that more people in the West
Oh.
need to understand this. And literally speaking
we
of,
do.
he's saying you should do a show on this stupid ideology. Khalistan means land of pure Sikh. Yes, where Hindus have been wiped out. It's based on the same theory as Pakistan. I mean, it's the last thing that the subcontinent needs. It truly is. It's such a horrible idea, like just on the face of it.
Anyways, we should get to the next news.
Yes.
Is it clappable?
No.
No. Oh my god. All right. Next news.
Next news. Paris knife attacker said that, quote, he could no longer bear to see Muslims dying. In a tragic incident near the Eiffel Tower, Armand R., a 26-year-old French man of Iranian descent, fatally stabbed a German tourist and injured two others with a hammer in Paris's 15th district. The German victim was attacked alongside a 60-year-old Frenchman and a 66-year-old British man, both sustaining non-life-threatening injuries. French Interior Minister Gerard Darmanin emphasized the gravity of the attack, stating that more lives could have been lost without prompt police intervention. Armand R., as he is identified in documents, previously known to intelligence services and within history of acute mental illness, was arrested for assassination and attempted assassination related to a terrorist enterprise. He had converted to Islam at 18 and was arrested in 2016 for violent actions and had planned to join ISIS in Syria. Released in 2020, he was under surveillance for suspected extremism and undergoing psychiatric treatment. The attack, which Armand R. claimed was motivated by his inability to, quote, bear to see Muslims dying, was condemned by French President Emmanuel Macron as a terror attack, and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz expressed shock and a firm stand against hatred and terror. So this is a terrorist knife attack that happened in Paris recently. And basically what happened is there is this French national from an Iranian family living in France, and he has been radicalized. And he was radicalized. He converted to Islam at 18, and he became radicalized into the movement, and he became radicalized into trying to join ISIS. He was arrested and jailed for this. He was released after 4 years. He was released in 2020, and then he was continued to be under surveillance. Then when the attacks in Gaza started, the Israel-Hamas war started, he just lost it. Apparently he has a history of acute mental illness, and there were reports from doctors showing that they were concerned about his mental state. There was reporting saying that his mom was reporting his status to the authorities because she was worried about how he was acting. And basically witnesses say that when he was attacking, he was screaming Allahu Akbar and made statements about how he could no longer bear to see Muslims dying in Gaza and Afghanistan. So he decided to go attack a bunch of random tourists in front of the Eiffel Tower, and he actually killed the man. He killed a German tourist. Bludgeoned the other men in the head with a hammer.
And how does that stop Muslims from dying?
It doesn't at all. It doesn't at all. It's also kind of insane to me. I mean, I'm not insane. I don't know the right way to put this. But he's like, he can no longer bear to see Muslims dying in Afghanistan. Most of the people killing Muslims in Afghanistan are Muslims. All of them. All of the.
He said Afghanistan? I
He
thought he was
did,
talking about
according to
Gaza.
statements, he also said Afghanistan, Gaza and Afghanistan. Like all the people murdering
Muslims killing
Muslims.
He kills non-Muslims because he can't see Muslims killing Muslims?
Yes.
I mean, this guy doesn't seem, he's not mentally right. You know, like if
Clearly
he has mental
not.
problems. Yeah, okay.
Yes, and apparently has a history of it as well.
So he converted to Islam when he was 18?
Yeah.
And he lived all his life in, where you said he was in France?
Mm-hmm.
Was he born? Did you mention he was born in France?
I don't know if he was born in France, but he's identified as a French citizen. He's only 26 years old, so I'm kind of assuming he was.
Okay, so this is an interesting thing because he's an Iranian, and we don't see that many Iranians do stuff like this, and he's Sunni because he's not even Shia. So this guy, even though he's Iranian, he's not radicalized to Islam because he's from Iran. He's radicalized to Islam because he's French. Do you understand? Like his Iranian background is not actually leading to his radicalism, because if it was because of his Iranian background, he would be a Shia radical Muslim, not a Sunni one. This is more French environment influence, the Islamism in France influencing him rather than his Iranian background influencing him, which is pretty telling how bad the situation is in France. I mean, you are less likely to get views like this in Iran than France right now. It's hard for you.
Literally.
Yes. Yeah. If you go in Iran, you're not going to see people with these views. It's hard. You're going to be able to, average citizens. You're going to random. It's hard for you to find people that would condone such a thing. France is a better environment for radicalizing people right now. Iran is actually a good environment for de-radicalizing people, surprisingly. Yeah. Well, not surprisingly, actually. But this was odd to a lot of Iranians because they don't, whenever there's a stabbing news in Europe, it's usually not an Iranian, right? So they were like, what the hell? Who is this guy? Why is he?
It's pretty rare.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm assuming that, so Sid gave a super chat. He's saying, imagine hating a country and its people and desire the destruction of the local people and yet begging them to let you in, a weird form of hatred. I don't know this as a fact, but I am assuming based off the reporting that I read and the research I did that he is the son of people that came from Iran. I think he grew up, maybe was possibly born in France. But spent his whole life there. So he wasn't in a position of begging the country to let them in. I think he spent his whole life in France. I think it was his parents that were given asylum, or I have no idea how they came to France. But he's a full French national like any other French citizen.
And this is the misunderstanding that a lot of people have, that think that radicalization is coming from outside into Europe and North America. A lot of the radicalization, Islamic radicalization, is homegrown. So even if you stop immigration, you already have the virus, the Islamic virus spreading there. You're not going to be able to stop this virus just from stopping immigration. This is not just an immigration or military battle. This is an ideological battle. You have to figure out how to cure this from inside your country. Again, this person was radicalized. This person was not radicalized outside of France and then came to France. This person was radicalized in France.
And his mother would actually report him to the authorities.
Yeah, look.
People are confirming that he was born in France. Thank you, D. Super chat from Sid saying Muslims don't care about oppression as long as the oppressors are also Muslim, but if non-Muslims go to war with Muslims and win as they do, then it is a problem. Basically, non-Muslims can't resist us. I mean, I'm not in a way. In a way, I kind of appreciated this man's consistency about caring about Muslims dying in Afghanistan, because I'm like, wow, look at someone actually talking about Muslims being killed.
We should appreciate this guy.
No, I don't know the right way to put that. I'm just saying that he was being he it's one of the rare forms of consistency that I've seen. I wish, of course, obviously he shouldn't have expressed it like this. That's horrific, horrendous, and undefensible in any way, shape, or form. But there is a display of consistency, which I think is very rare.
Also, said you should put a mini at the beginning of that sentence because you're generalizing all Muslims.
That's true.
I have seen Muslims who care about oppression, the type of oppression that you're talking about. Like I have seen Muslim activists talking about the situation in Yemen, about the situation in Afghanistan, situation in Pakistan. So there are people. Yeah, there are people who care about those things. So it's just not as much as we like to see, but they do exist. They do exist.
Yeah. You know, it actually makes me really sad. There's an Afghan activist that I follow on Instagram, and when there were so many marches and huge displays for Gaza, like he was making a lot of posts, and he's probably a Muslim himself, I don't know, criticizing the Ummah, basically being like, guys, where were you? Where were you? Why don't you show any of us the support? Why don't you show our Uyghur brothers and sisters the support? The streets were empty. The streets were empty. But now you guys come out in the hundreds of thousands. We could have really used your support. You say you care so much about the Ummah. Where were you guys?
Yeah. You hate Jews. You don't care about the Ummah.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
A pattern becomes very clear. So Yusuf raises a question. How can we curb Islamism in Europe? Well, I think one thing that needs to happen is that we need to take a strong stance against any form of separatism. So the measures that France is taking against Islamic separatism within their own society is very clear, very needed. I really like a lot of the measures that they're putting in. Other things are basically we need to not apologize for our values. We need to stop apologizing for our own values that made our countries prosperous. We need to rigorously defend them and not apologize for their success. Just because we are successful, that doesn't mean that we're bad. Like, this is kind of a twisted logic that a lot of leftists use. Like, that's a longer conversation that I'm not going to get into.
Yeah.
And also, basically, don't let yourself become a slave to multiculturalism.
Well, I wrote an article about this.
Hey, let's talk about it.
On queer majority. If you guys want to go read it, on queer majority, I wrote this article. I didn't choose the title; they did. Pride flags, kid gloves, and Islam's religious right. So yeah, I basically come up with my solution to this problem, and I put the link in the description in the live chat if you guys, or you could just search for this queer majority Armin Navabi, and you could find this article. Yeah, cool. All right, you're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Whoops. Okay, I was ranting. This next news is insane.
Okay. Is it clappable?
I mean, no one died. Well, not directly. This is insane.
There's lynching involved. Maybe I shouldn't clap.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it. Let's get into it.
All right, next news.
Okay. Next news. A new low. The woman jailed for merely condemning a blasphemy lynching. Rhoda Yau Jato, a Christian mother of 5 and healthcare administrator in Bauchi, Nigeria, faces legal repercussions for sharing a WhatsApp message condemning the lynching of Deborah Yakubu, a Christian student lynched over alleged blasphemy. Arrested in May of 2022, Jato is accused of inciting disturbance, contempt for religious creed, and cyberstalking. Her case, reflecting Nigeria's harsh blasphemy laws, has sparked public outrage and highlighted the deep-rooted religious extremism in the country. Nidi Kato, a Nigerian politician and women's rights advocate, expressed shock at the extent of the extremism, stating, quote, "This really shows how far extremism has permeated deeply into our institutions." Her case is not isolated, as other high-profile blasphemy cases, like those of atheist Mubarak Bala and Sufi artist Yahya Sharif Aminu, have also garnered international attention. Amnesty International has criticized Nigeria's use of blasphemy accusations to violate human rights and urged the government to uphold the freedom of religion and expression. Now, I wanted to cover this because I think we might have talked about this before, but now we have more details about her case. And yeah, Dee is making a good point. Nigeria is a secular state. So let me back up and explain a few things. Let me explain some context to you guys. So in 2022, there was a Christian. This is the background. There was a Christian student on a college university on campus, and she was accused of blasphemy. I can't remember exactly what the alleged blasphemy was, but let me tell you that it was absurd. It was absurd. Like the accusation was stupid. And this woman, this Christian woman, was lynched by fellow students on her college campus because of this alleged blasphemy. Burned, and lynched because of this blasphemy allegation. Horrific and barbaric. So, meanwhile, after this event happened, where this woman was brutally lynched in this way over alleged insult to the Prophet Muhammad, there was a different Christian woman who's some healthcare administrator in the area of Bachi, right? And this woman, this healthcare administrator, her name was Rhoda, merely, listen to this carefully, she merely forwarded a message. She forwarded a message on WhatsApp condemning the lynching of this other woman. And that's her crime. That is her crime. She forwarded a message on WhatsApp expressing concern and condemnation over the brutal lynching of another woman in public on college campus. And because of that, she has been, she was arrested for? She was accused of inciting disturbance, contempt for religious creed, and cyber stalking. Let's take a small sidestep for a second and say that if you forward a message, let's even go further. Let's pretend that she actually wrote it herself. Let's and actually, shouted it from the rooftops, not just forwarded on a WhatsApp. Let's pretend that that's what happened. And so she goes and says, I think it's ridiculous. And I don't know exactly what the message was, but basically condemning the public murder and lynching, burning of a woman's body for alleged blasphemy. Going out and saying, I think this is horrific. This is intolerable. This, condemning it. If that is a crime against of supposed contempt for religious creed, what does that say? What are you now saying about that religious creed? What kind of self-report is that? It's on a different level. And this woman has been in jail for over a year for forwarding a message expressing concern, heartbreak, whatever it was, over the way that this woman's last moments were spent in pain and agony. That was her crime. And of course, the crime of being a religious minority in this area. It's absurd. It is absurd. And this is why I titled this story A New Low. A new low, where you are accused of contempt for religious creed, for saying that it is inexcusable to murder people over allegations of blasphemy. Again, I have to repeat it. If that is contempt for religious creed, what does that tell you about the religious creed?
That it involves lynching.
Exactly. And that it's tolerable, excusable, and in fact promoted. And you better not freaking criticize it, or you're next. Because you know what happened after this case was filed against her? Her entire family has had to go into hiding because of threats and attacks against them. Imagine you have to go into hiding You have to leave behind everything you've ever known because your mom merely forwarded a message on WhatsApp saying that it's condemnable that a woman was burned in public and lynched over an accusation of blasphemy. Like, this is it's unimaginable to me, but this is where we're at, or this is where Nigeria is at right now. And again, there are other people like that quote I gave in the article, which was politicians saying this shows how far extremism has permeated deeply into our institutions. And there are rights organizations fighting for her, and they're trying to bring her justice. And meanwhile, the state governor is like, oh, I haven't heard of this case before. You haven't heard of this case before? I mean, it's just absurd. It's so absurd.
What the hell is Nigeria doing? Every time it gets more ridiculous than the last time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's somebody. Okay, this person saying, "What is happening to Mrs. Rhoda Jetu? Am I reading this right?
I'm not.
And her family." Okay, do you want to read this, because I can't read these things.
And also, I want to say thank you very much to our lovely editor D, who helps find all of these lovely things on social media to go in our writings. Saying what is happening to Mrs. Rhoda Jato and her family in Bachi State is really, really unfair. How can the actual killers of Deborah, this is the Christian woman that was lynched on college campus, how can the actual killers of Deborah be walking free while a person who merely criticized the killing is being prosecuted and has been on remand for several months? This shows you the priorities of a society. It's absolutely insane to me. It gets me so heated.
And this is a country that has a lot of Christians. It's not like it's completely Islamic. I don't understand. Is this going to turn into a civil war or something? You have like half the population in Nigeria is Christian.
Well, and this is a big problem because Nigeria obviously has a long history of religious extremism, and we there are a lot of tensions that are increasing. We covered a story not too long ago about how, I think shockingly, I don't remember what the exact statistic was, so people, please do not quote me on this, but one of the number one countries where Christians are murdered around the world in extrajudicial attacks is Nigeria. I think we did a report based on like Christian persecution monitor or something on this. And part of the issue with this is that they're in the northern area of Nigeria, which is the Islamically controlled area of Nigeria, essentially. The south, it's right. Pretty much 50-50 north and south Muslim Christian.
All right, let's go to the next news. But before that, we got
I'm going to get so angry again this next news.
Really? Which one is the Christmas tree one?
No.
No. Yeah, okay, I'm the right one. Okay. We got an interesting super chat from Secular Sakai saying, will you guys also write on Only Sky? Thank you so much for the super chat. Yeah, I'm actually interested in that.
If I'm invited.
Yes. Do you know somebody that knows somebody that could get us in touch with somebody that will get us to be able to write? I
know people at Only Sky.
Oh, really? Okay. I would be interested in that.
Oh, what's his name? Yeah, like one of the founders.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to get, Susanna is so busy, but when we talk, off camera, she has such an amazing takes. Then I'm like, why are these not out there? Like, it's a crime. You have no idea how amazing of takes. Like, I get so inspired by Susanna behind the scenes when the way she evaluates the stuff that are happening. And I'm like, this woman is a genius, and she has a level of nuance and I'm like, she has better takes than most of the content creators out there. I'm like, why is she not out there? Why is she not writing articles? Why she's not doing her own analysis without like me about like different stuff that's happening? So I'm trying to encourage her to do that, but she's so busy with other things.
Because
But
I
yeah,
gotta
if
pay
you could,
my bills. That's the answer.
yes, yes. But some of these publications pay for articles. So guys, if you know, again, guys, if you know publications that pay for writing, and Susanna would get them in, reach out to Susanna and get them in touch because she has such great takes. And it's a shame that it's not all of it is out there. Oh, look, people are agreeing with me, including our very own Judy saying yes, exactly. Because she talked
I
there.
love
Yeah,
you, Judy.
exactly.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Um, this is so funny. Charles is saying, Susanna, you're like Goku not wanting to go Super Saiyan 3 because it uses too much energy. Literally, I have to conserve. I have to conserve it.
And yes, secular Sakai, I have heard of that, and that's another insane thing that is happening. People are just going willy-nilly trying to annex different parts of different countries. It's insane. Yeah.
Yeah, we're entering a new era, guys. Get excited.
Yes, people are getting more emboldened with just dismissing international norms and standards, which is not good, guys. Not
The
good.
liberal world order is crumbling.
Hey, stop that now. No, you stop. Okay. No. Oh my god. Okay.
Hey, we're doing our part. We're doing what we can.
Yes. We got another super chat from Muhammad.
Oh,
You
thank
wanted to
you,
say?
Shami. He's saying, thank you for reporting and sharing this story. Yes, of course. Thank you for supporting us, Shami.
Thank you. And thank you for D. Thank you for D for making us
thank
not
you for
forget
D and our
Africa.
entire volunteer team. I would not be able to
Yes.
do this without these guys. Bull McLeod is saying Susanna understands her more agile form is better than pure power. I love this. Oh,
Okay.
and Hervex is reminding people to like the video. That's a good point. If you're here, you've enjoyed us so far, make sure to like the video. We are here every single week. We are consistent. We do it. We have a good time. If it brings value to your life, hit that like, hit subscribe, because we're growing the AR army. We're approaching 50K. Okay. I want people to freaking get on board, join the militia. We're growing ever stronger. And also, if you find value in this show, please consider supporting us by becoming a monthly donor. Link is in the description below. Because it keeps
and just
alive.
When Susanna said join the militia for legal reasons, that's a joke. I just wanted to mention that. Just add, okay, YouTube. We don't mean an actual militia. This was a joke. Okay. All right. Can we clap for the next news?
Oh God, this makes me so angry. Okay, I don't want to clap because this is absurd.
Oh, okay. All right. Next news.
Okay. Next news. Hanukkah public displays removed amidst rising tensions. In response to the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas, several cities in the United States and Canada have canceled Hanukkah celebrations and removed Jewish symbols from public display, sparking controversy. In Williamsburg, Virginia, the Second Sundays Art and Music Festival's founder, Shirley Vermillion, canceled a menorah lighting, citing the inappropriateness of the display during the Israel-Hamas conflict. This decision was met from the United Jewish Community of Virginia Peninsula, which stated, quote, "We should be very clear. It is anti-Semitic to hold Jews collectively responsible for Israel's policies and action and to require a political litmus test for Jews' participation in community events that have nothing to do with Israel. Those standards would never be applied to another community." Oh yeah, because I forgot an important detail. They decided to pull a menorah display, and then they told the community, oh yeah, you know what? You can go ahead and do your menorah display, but only if you do it literally underneath a banner that calls for a ceasefire. Then you're allowed to light your menorah.
What are you telling me? This isn't real.
Yes. This is in the United
States. This is not real.
This is in the United States.
No.
So again, Jews, you're allowed to hold your religious celebrations in public as long as you do a political purity test. then it's
Are you
okay.
serious?
Then it's okay for you to be publicly Jewish. Disgusting. Disgusting. In Westbrook, Maine, a Star of David was replaced with a dreidel holiday light display after complaints from Arab American residents about its association with the Israeli flag. Mayor Michael Foley justified the change as a legal requirement under the U.S. Constitution's Establishment Clause. Okay, that's all well and good. We do have the Establishment Clause. But when you only start to apply it this year, during this time, people are going to look at you sideways for good reason. People are going to look at you sideways for good reason. When, oh, it used to be fine, but now it's not because Establishment Clause now? Give me a break. Similarly, a Canadian town did not display a menorah outside its city hall for the first time in 20 years, citing a 2015 Supreme Court ruling. Again, the first time in 20 years, but this ruling came down in 2015. I'm looking at you sideways. Francis Vale of the Moncton Jewish community highlighted the decision's unfairness and its impact on the Jewish community. The UK's Havering Council had also initially decided against lighting the menorah in this year's Hanukkah celebrations, but reversed the decision after discussions with Jewish community leaders. And again, they said, in the UK situation, they basically said, oh, well, we don't want to do Hanukkah. We don't want to have menorah celebrations in public right now because it seems inappropriate. We don't want to increase tensions. So who's responsible for increasing tensions here? Just normal Jews having their religious holiday celebrations? Or who's maybe responsible for increasing tensions? The people who are threatening to vandalize those displays. How about we hold the perpetrators accountable instead of just painting the Jews as who are the victims of this persecution, painting them as responsible for the persecution of the people against them? You know who's inflaming tensions? The people running around the streets of London holding Daesh and ISIS signs, holding Taliban flags. The people running around the streets of London calling for a final solution. That's who's freaking increasing tensions. Not just Jews being publicly Jewish in public and celebrating their holidays, as is their right. Now, given laws and stuff, maybe they do not technically have a right to do it on a government property. You know, there's different kind of rules about that in different countries. In the US, the way that comes down is, well, if you celebrate one religious holiday on government property, then you have to celebrate all on government property, right? That's the way that the US handles it. So doing it on government property is one thing, but just having generalized community public displays that are now suddenly being taken down for these reasons, it's so virulently disgusting. And you're basically telling Jews to get back in the closet. Stop being publicly Jewish, sit down and assimilate. It's so disgusting. But Armin, before I want to show you a few videos that I think are important to watch. But what is your initial reaction?
I was going to say something that Zaid and Dee said before me, because I was going to say, can you imagine this happening after the October 7th attack as a response, not having the call to prayer, for example, saying like, it's tasteless right now after the October 7th attack.
I don't see that being canceled in New York, where now it's now legal to do the call to prayer.
Can you even imagine that happening? Nobody would dare. Nobody would dare say, like, okay, no azan in mosques because it would be tasteless after the October 7th attack. Unless, how about this? You imagine if they came out and said, you're allowed to have your azan, the call to prayer, if you condemn Hamas. They would never do that.
Exactly. They don't have the balls.
They would never do that, which makes me think this is Jew hatred. Can you think of anything else that explains this double standard other than Jew hatred? Am I imagining things here?
No. And it's so sad. There are Jewish communities around the country, around the world, who are willfully making the decision to take their menorah displays down publicly. That's a different matter where they are internally making that decision. They're making that decision as a community that this is what we want to do, right? But even so, that is so sad to me. And I put a couple of things in the private chat that I want you to show, Armin, if you could pull those up. Because basically, I understand the impetus because they don't want, oh, please, can you pause that for a second? So I understand the impetus because they don't want to basically make themselves vulnerable to attacks. They don't want to make themselves vulnerable to vandalism. And I'm not here to tell anyone, especially in such a persecuted community, how they should be behaving for their own safety. But my reaction, and again, this is as an outsider, I appreciate that, is no, have those symbols up. Because if they are vandalized, people need to see that sentiment and attitude is alive and well in the heart of their community. They need to see how visible it is. If people are going to invite this kind of attacks and vandalism into their life, then they need to be prosecuted for their crime. The Jewish people are not committing a crime by having a menorah outside their synagogue, as a little holiday display. That's not a crime. They don't need to be policing their behavior as if they're the ones doing something wrong. If they are exercising their right to have that display on their own property, that is well within their right. If other people come and vandalize that, that's a crime. They should be prosecuted accordingly. So it shows you how far we've fallen when people who are at the subject of these attacks are the ones adjusting their behavior accordingly, instead of the authorities being proactive in ensuring that they can have their public displays in the same way that any other, I'm going to speak as an American, in the same way that any other American can. It's so reprehensible. Yeah, Dia is saying, the U.S. has the highest number of Jews outside of Israel, and look at the protests and chants that are allowed. How do you think Jews feel right now? If I was a Jewish person, I would legitimately be terrified.
You know what this shows?
What?
The legitimacy of Zionism. The fact that Jews,
it always comes back to, this is why they need to protect themselves. This is why they need an army to protect them.
This is why they need their country. Because even in the United States, which is supposed to be their main ally, people are like, oh, why did they need their own country? They were safe in the US. Well, were they? I mean, they were safe in Germany before Adolf took over. It was the best place to be a Jew, right? And again, these events all over Europe and North America, again, shows that Zionism was right. Jews need their own country because they can't trust anybody.
Yeah. Jean, who I think is in Israel, saying, D, I can tell you how they feel. This has been the largest aliyah, which means like the coming to homeland, or basically immigrating to Israel, for Jewish people from Western countries. But this is not necessarily fighting you on this, but are people making aliyah for the first time, or are they coming back to serve as reservists? Because I know that Israel is probably the only country in the world where, when faced with a war, there are more people entering the country to come fight for that country versus flee. I've never seen anything like it before, actually. So is it that, or is it actually people making aliyah for the first time? I'd be very curious. But can you bring forward that first Instagram thing that I brought? And I just thought that this was a really important perspective to bring in, and make sure to turn on the audio. Rudy Rochman is a Israeli activist, and actually he's currently serving as a reservist right now. And I really liked what he had to say about being publicly Jewish, and I think it captures the sentiment really well.
For American Jews And in the diaspora, there's a certain mentality of staying low, putting on the baseball cap wherever you're going, and keeping quiet. I don't have to tell you what we're seeing in New York right now.
I always had a Magen David my whole life, and my grandparents would tell me, tuck in your Magen David. You can't go out in public with your Magen David. And I didn't really have the words then to explain why I refused to do so. But now I understand how dangerous it is to tuck in your Magen David. Because although as an individual, you might be minimizing the potential risk of an attack because nobody would in that moment be able to tell that you're Jewish. When we start to do that, we start to accept as a collective that this is okay, that this is just a reality we have to live with. And when you don't fight back anti-Semitism, it will get worse. And so it's actually much more dangerous as the collective to do that as individuals than it is for the dangers of the individuals if they continue to do that. And so the reality is very simple. If you are a Jew living in the diaspora, you stand up, you fight back, and you win. You win the cultural war, you win the respect. And if you're not here to win, you leave immediately and you come home to Israel. That's it. There is no other equation. There is no other option. Either you come home because you can't do your job, or you stand up and you do your job.
If we don't stand up for ourselves, no one else is. That's the bottom line.
What do you think of that sentiment?
But I like the message, but I don't like telling people what they have to do. I don't like the ultimatum, because I think our goal is to let people live. So not everybody has to be a soldier. Not everybody has to be an activist. We want Jews to be able to just live their goddamn lives without having to fight all the time. Like the purpose of the people who fight, the purpose of the people who do activism is so that other people get to just live their goddamn lives. I love what he's saying. Just minor adjustment. I don't like the idea that you have to do this as a Jew. Like this is your responsibility because you're a Jew. I think you individually decide what your responsibilities are for yourself. I think like it should be more in line of an encouragement and invitation rather than this is what you have to do. I don't like people telling Jewish people that they have to do something because they're a Jew, even if they themselves are a Jew. That's the only part that I would adjust. But everything he said, if it was in the form of a suggestion and an encouragement, that was fantastic. Just a slight minor change. Does that make sense?
Totally. I wonder. My gosh. So wait, scroll up and read the caption, or I'll read the caption. So this is a video I found on Twitter, and to be fair, for this specific video, I can't corroborate this, but so it's saying Los Angeles, as Jews were lighting candles last night for Shabbat and the second night of Hanukkah, mobs of anti-Semites took to the street to chant anti-Semitic slogans in graffiti buildings, including synagogues. This particular location is the epicenter of Persian Jewish life on the Wilshire corridor. Grandparents and parents were all hearing the same Jewish death chants they heard during the Iranian Islamic Revolution some 44 years ago, forcing them to flee their homes of 2,000 plus years.
Should I play the video?
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing that and then the next video I think is really, really important. One thing that I think is just so, like, people just use Zionist as synonymous with Jewish constantly. And this is a perfect example of this. So here we see a guy scaling a giant menorah display with the Palestinian flag to vandalize it. So when you see just a normal ass menorah display and someone feels the need to go vandalize it and plant a Palestinian flag on top, when the claims that anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitic fall flat on their face pretty fast. So when people are talking about anti-Zionism or being against the Zionists, we need to go root out the Zionists, we need to go find the Zionists, blah, blah, blah. Like, I am looking at them with incredible scrutiny because it is almost completely just Jews. There were women
Right.
in the university. I heard about this in my workplace. I think it might have been at Michigan State. I'm not exactly sure. But there were Jewish women that were kicked out of a sexual assault survivors group because they were accused of being Zionists.
It's incredible. That means that's so just because the only way that they were identifying them as Zionists was their Jewishness, right?
Yeah, or maybe or maybe they had Israeli citizenship. Anything. It's
Yeah.
so vehemently disgusting. So vehemently disgusting.
By the way, let me actually be
As
clear.
if
We
yeah,
are not.
your sexual assault doesn't count if you're painted as a Zionist. Well, newsflash, guys.
Let me say something. I am pro Israel. I'm pro Zionism as well. Like I understand when we are saying that by Zionists, by saying that we're anti-Zionism, they actually mean they're anti-Jewish, but they can't say that, so they say anti-Zionism. That, to me, I just want you to understand, I'm not saying it's okay to be anti-Zionism. Zionism is a legitimate movement, and I support it. I support both Jewish people and beyond Jewish people. I support Zionism as a movement. So just understand that we're not saying like, oh, they're actually anti-Jewish because it's okay to just be anti-Zionism. Zionism is just nationalism for Israel. That's what Zionism is. Nationalism for Israel. And nationalism could have many forms that are radical and not legitimate, but there are very nationalism as a whole is a important and positive force. We have civic nationalism, which is very important to have. I mean, the concept
Yes.
of a nation state is literally what have saved us from constant war between powerful forces around the globe, and defending the concept of nation state for every country. That's nationalism. And nationalism for Israel is called Zionism. So I support Zionism because I support nationalism for every single country. But I know there are versions of Zionism that are completely insane, but that doesn't make the whole thing insane as a whole. The whole thing is a legitimate movement.
Yeah, but also, I mean, I try to be charitable and also nuanced. There are ways to critique Zionism in a very constructive, legitimate way. It's just that's a
Certain
needle
versions of it.
Exactly. That's a needle in a haystack of just virulent anti-Semitism. And it's become like, it has never been more apparent in my life. Like, I want to tell people, when I was a militant lefty, when I was an anarchist, like when I was in Antifa, I had a friend of mine from college who was one of my closest friends, who was way more radical than me. And I remember having a conversation with her where she literally said, you know, I've changed my mind about asking Jews how they feel about Israel. So she had gotten to a place where she was openly saying that, you know what, I actually think that it's acceptable and okay and not bigoted to make Jews do a political litmus test to see if they're my ally, to see if they're acceptable within my groups. That's a statement, because I know how these anarchists and Antifa work. If you have anything that they think is a smear against you, they'll kick you out and dox you.
We should play this video.
Yeah. So for people who are listening, like I said earlier, it's a guy climbing a giant menorah display with the Palestinian flag, and there are people trying to stop him. Oh, it's pro-Palestinian protesters. It's pro-Palestinian protesters that are getting him to try to take it down. Because did you hear that? They said it makes it look bad for us. They were pissed.
Oh, I didn't notice that. We have a ton of super chats. Thank you, guys. That's very generous.
Oh my lord! Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go through those.
Yeah. Erican, thank you for the super chat, saying the phrase self-delete is better than the actual phrase LOL. Zaid is saying, I wonder if they're going to ban Eid celebrations and Ramadan festivals as well, but I bet that only applies to Jews.
That's what.
Yeah, exactly. Can you imagine? Raziel gave us $5. Thank you. Saying, when attacking Israel, they make sure to say Israel and Jews aren't the same. When attacking Jews, they say Jews and Israel are all the same. Yep, it's a common pattern. Bull is saying they'll be sorry when Hanukkah is unleashed. So I looked this up, and it's a condor, like the vulture, just with a little yarmulke.
Okay.
The Jewish condors, the Jew will be released. It's like a meme. Raziel also said, I now visibly wear the Magen David. I didn't before. Good for you. Don't be afraid. Unicorn gave us $2, saying, thank you, Susan and Armin. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Gasian is raising a contention to you, Armin, saying, is Khalistan not nationalism?
Well, last time I checked, there was not a nation state called Khalistan. So no, it's not nationalism, and it's against the nation state that is officially there, which is India. So no, it's not nationalism, it's anti-nationalism, because India does exist as a nation state and Khalistan doesn't.
Sakai is saying patriotism, guys, not nationalism.
No, nationalism. Civic nationalism.
Yeah.
I am.
Patriotism is basically civic nationalism. Patriotism is like positive nationalism.
That word has different meanings to many different people.
That's
right?
true.
But nationalism has, at least civic nationalism has a very official meaning, a legal meaning, official meaning. And civic nationalism is something that I completely endorse. And I know there are certain types of nationalism that are radical and that we do not support, but civic nationalism is a very powerful and important force that we do support.
This comment by Weasel is so funny. Saying, I prefer decolonize yourself to delete yourself.
No, hey guys, don't say that. Don't make light of this. It's not good. Jesus Christ. Thank you everybody for all the super chats. We really appreciate this. It's really helping us keep the channel going. So thank you. All right, so the last news, we get to laugh a little bit after going through all that heavy. Jesus Christ, yes. Thank you, Susie, for making us end on a happy, fun note.
This is just silly. This is just silly.
So I'm going to clap for it then. Next news.
A very satanic Christmas, complete with Christian butter. Tastes delicious. Tastes like eggnog. The Satanic Temple, or TST for short, has sparked controversy this Christmas season with their unique holiday displays, including a satanic-themed Christmas tree in Wisconsin Museum and a Baphomet figure in the Iowa State Capitol. The tree, as part of the National Railroads Museum Animal Festival in Ashwaubenon, Wisconsin. There's a lot of Wisconsin towns with weird ass names. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know how to pronounce that. Features blood red lighting, pentagrams, and a Hail Santa ornament playing on the phrase Hail Satan. This display, along with a gender diversity themed tree with like little protect trans kid like ornaments, grew criticism from Wisconsin Republican Representative Mike Gallagher, who expressed deep offense to Christians. This is insane. This man, he comparing it to, quote, waving a Hamas flag inside a synagogue.
Wait, what?
This fits under break with reality level. Yeah. Yeah. You heard it here first, guys. Gallagher also accused the museum of propagating woke ideology and, quote, offensive upside-down cultural propaganda. Despite the criticism, the museum CEO, Jacqueline Frank, defended their decision, emphasizing the museum's secular nature and commitment to diversity. Similarly, in Iowa, the Satanic Temple's Baphomet display at the state capitol has been met with disapproval from Pastor Joe Tenney, who vowed to hold the responsible parties accountable. The Iowa Department of Administrative Services stated that the TST followed all guidelines for the display. The Satanic Temple, known for satirizing religion and advocating for issues like abortion rights and opposing corporal punishment, does not worship Satan, but uses the figure as a symbol for a rebellion against religious oppression. So this is hilarious to me. Armin, if you scroll down, on Twitter, there's a video, yes, right there, that I want to play. This is, I mean, it's just so funny.
The really shame of it is, Sean, every year the National Railroad Museum does something very interesting and cool and fun for kids, which is they do a big screening of Polar Express, and you're surrounded by all the trains, and it's a cool, fun thing to take your kids to. But now I wouldn't take my kids to it. Now I don't want them to be surrounded by satanic trees. The local reporting has been insufficient. So the whole thing is absurd. And I would say one final thing. Conservatives are often accused of launching a culture war or focusing or fixating on cultural issues. But here is a perfect example of how that's not what's happening. What's happening is we're just trying to defend basic traditions or defend our children in the midst of these basic traditions from the encroachment of woke ideology or offensive, upside down cultural propaganda. And so the whole thing is a shame. I thought that Northeast Wisconsin was at least immune to something that you might see in New York or California, but we need to be vigilant as parents. Well, the really shame of it.
The funny thing is you don't, the TST is not this active in New York or California. That's the funny thing. And I love how he's like, they accuse us of only focusing on the culture war, but let me tell you why that's wrong by telling you exactly why this is all about the culture war. And it's true. I'm like, yeah, Republicans, could you advance like maybe a more thorough economic policy? Like, well, literally, what are you advancing besides culture war? That's just a side
what has this got to do with wokeism? He mentioned that we are trying to protect ourselves from wokeism. Like, what does this got to do with that?
So the tree was gender diversity themed.
Ah, okay.
So
that's not wokeism.
There were a few little trans flags on it, and a few things that said like protect trans kids.
Okay, that's not wokeism. That's just trans rights. That's just defending trans. Can people understand that wokeism is people have to understand the difference between liberalism and wokeism. Okay, defending trans people is not wokeism. Okay, wokeism is something else. I just wanted to mention that. Oh, you read this one from.
Yes, D brings up a very good point, saying you can sign up for free membership on the Satanic Temple's website, and you get monthly newsletters telling you what they're up to. If you want to go follow some satanic shenanigans.
That's pretty cool. And also, all right, so we got a super chat from Gasian. You want to read this one?
Gasian American, thank you for the super chat, saying we should have permanent Christmas bonsais instead of unaliving new trees every year, then exchange ornaments for every holiday.
Ooh.
I actually kind of like this idea.
By the way, I got D had highlighted some good comments here because he said that parents need to be vigilant. And this comment that D highlighted for us is saying, I am so vigilant as a parent. My daughter is a member of the temple. What is it? TST, the Satanic Temple?
Yeah.
Forbid she has to be subject to these hateful Christians. Wait.
Oh, meaning like forbid.
Right?
Forbid.
Oh, okay. Yes. That's true. That's a good answer. I think it's a wonderful looking tree. Yeah, what is it? It's a red tree. It looks good. Didn't Trump's wife had a similar tree for Christmas, didn't she? Melania. What is Trump's?
What do you mean? It looked red
wife.
and satanic?
Yes, Christmas.
Wait, how do you
She
know
has-
that? Why would you ever know that?
Oh yeah, here. Because it became such a big. It looked very satanic. Here are the trees.
Whoa.
Here's how she decorated the White House. This is how do you say her name? Melania.
Yeah, Melania.
Melania Trump. This is how she decorated the White House on Christmas. Does that not look satanic?
It
That looks
looks like
pretty cool.
something out of Dr. Seuss.
This is what she did for Christmas.
Whoa. Wait, scroll down. I saw. Wait,
Yeah.
they had scroll down. Look at the Trump versus Biden.
Because the first lady gets
Who's
to decorate.
satanic now, huh?
Yeah, I know. Did you know that it's the first lady that gets to decorate the White House for Christmas and other holidays? So that's what she went with. Yeah. So, see, I know stuff.
Oh my God, I'm so Catholic brained. I was like, see, this is the difference between Catholics and Protestants.
Hey, you guys, Catholics are the one who literally focus on drinking blood and eating the body as if it's a literal thing. So don't tell me the Protestants are satanic. That's the most satanic thing you could do. No, we got another super
You are
chat.
lame.
Let's read. Yeah, Benny. You want to...
Oh yes, Benny is saying people in different contexts use woke differently. That's why I asked you about it before. U.S. Republicans use woke as anything supporting human rights for LGBT, especially. Yeah, exactly.
This is why we keep having to change the words that we use, because these far right people keep ruining it. Like we every time we have a word for these, crazy leftists, we don't want to condemn the entirety of the left, so we come up with a label for it, and then now we end up, so some of these crazy right-leaning people start using it, and then becomes cringe because they label the entirety of the left with it, and then we have to keep reinventing the word and coming up with something else. Yeah.
Which is why a lot of like real ass classical liberals have moved away from using woke, because it has just been
what's the new word now?
How wokeness makes words meaningless because of its postmodern root. The term woke, fulfilling its cultural heritage, has itself become meaningless.
Yeah. So tell me, if we are getting rid of woke because of right-leaning people ruining it, tell me what the new word is for us to call illiberal leftists who are not communists, basically.
Idiots.
Okay.
Who are not communists. Well, they're also idiots.
It's cultural Marxist to right-leaning as well, because
it's not accurate. There's a distinction between so-called cultural Marxism and the postmodern tradition from which what we now see evolved.
Okay.
And also it's used as a dog whistle, so I don't like to use that.
Whenever you have the liberal meeting that all the liberals come up with words, just let me know. Tell me what the last memo says about what word we're using to describe these people, and I will go with that one.
Should we go back to some regressive left?
Regressive left. Yeah, okay. Regressive left. That's pretty good. I like that. But the problem is that we have another group that are regressive leftists, which are communists. So if we're saying regressive left, are we not including the commies? So the commies are one form of regressive left. This
Why would we not
cultural. Because there are different brand of left that are regressive. There's an economic regressive left, and there's a cultural regressive left.
They're both economically away from full-blown mental index max. So
but one of them have bad. Yeah. Okay, but again, one of them has bad economic ideas. The other one has bad cultural ideas. So they're not this. There's
a high degree of crossover.
Yes. I agree.
because they both generally want
Um,
the destruction of.
I will call them culturally regressive leftists, and I will call the commies economically regressive leftists. Here are my words for it. This is my invention. If you have other suggestions for your names for them, leave them in the comment. The comments help us boost the channel. Oh, we got a whole bunch of more super chat. Oh no, it's just the same ones. No, we got one more super chat from Sid. Let's read this one.
Citizen, I saw a video of Israeli settlers harassing Palestinians, and it made me very sad, emotional. The settlers look so evil. I support Israel, but I can't support Israeli settlements. Oh, I mean, the settlements in the West Bank are a huge problem. So violate that, like that's a full-blown violation of international law. There's no question about
and those settlers in the West Bank, they be crazy, okay? They are insane, not all of them, but they're insane religious nut jobs, and they're extremely violent. There's no contradiction between you calling that out and being pro-Israel. Like, for example, I'm pro-United States. Does that mean that United States doesn't have idiots in it that are radicals? Obviously, they have. Like, you don't have to. Being pro-Israel does not require you to dismiss any act of evil that happens within Israel. Of course, they have crappy people. Every country has crappy people. You don't have to support a country only if it has no evil people in it. Because if that was the condition, then you wouldn't be able to support any country.
Well, people might say that it is necessary to support Israel, because from literally a geographical perspective, Israel needs to hold on to those settlements for dear life so that they can prevent tactical.
I understand that point. I understand that point when it comes to having the high ground. And if you didn't have that high ground, you would be able to just come to Tel Aviv and take over it like that. Yeah, I understand that point. But these settlers, okay, that's not why they're there for. Okay,
that's true.
Even if there was a point, these settlers, they're religious nut jobs. They're evil and they're pretty violent. Even if there was a legitimate point to make for whatever settlements, like for being there, these are not good people. And I know they're not good people. Okay, I am pro-Israel, and I say that.
Oh, we got some more super chats. Okay. The guy is saying, guys, I'm working on a digital international atheist museum. Interesting. I have digitally scanned artifacts, but need atheist artists interested too. Do you know of some? Hey, well, Sakai, please message me about more information about this so I can give you more specified suggestions, because I could probably reach out to a few people, but I need to understand the vision here. You know what I'm saying?
Also, get us in touch with that publication that you mentioned. Maybe Susanna could write for them.
No, I'm 90% sure I've spoken to one of their founders.
Okay, well, like, encourage Susanna, message Susanna and encourage her to do something about that, okay? Because I've been trying.
An open call to peer pressure Susanna.
Peer pressure. Let's pressure to Susanna into writing. Or do more articles.
Sid Dave gave another super chat. Whoops. Saying they stole goats, cows from those poor Palestinians. The poor Palestinian family was totally displaced and forced to leave. It was just so sad.
Yeah, I've seen documentaries on those people, and there is some really violent, horrible behavior from some of those settlers out there. And there's no contradiction. There is no contradiction in condemning that and supporting Israel. There's no contradiction in that.
Yeah, in fact,
I support Israel.
A lot better off if we had pulled out. Well,
yes. Well, at least the settlers. At least a different kind of people being there. Anyways, I'm not going to get into all of that. By the way, we support Palestine as well. We support Israel and Palestine, and those are Palestinians, and we support them, and we want them to have the best life. So, there's no contradiction between supporting Israel and supporting Palestine. Even though Palestine is not a nation state, is not a country, but it is a place, and where people live there, and we support them. We want the best for them. All right. We should end the news.
Yeah, I really let it fly today.
Yeah, that was good. You should do that more often. Guys, encourage this from Susanna. When she lets loose, everything becomes better.
Oh, my
All right, guys. We will see you again. Susanna will be here again next week, same time, covering the news. I will be with you sooner I'm gonna do a couple of more shows. But Anna and Rivka is also gonna do some more
Yay!
shows with us.
I loved
So
the last episode you did with Anna and Rivka. It was so fun.
yeah. Maybe we will do, if you have time, at some point we will do a show with Anna and Susanna at the same time at some point. That would be great. Yeah. Okay. Maybe. I know you're busy. No pressure. Just a little bit pressure. All right, guys. All right, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe and hit the bell notification and leave a comment, please. We do need your comments to grow the channel, so please do that. And also recommend this channel, guys. We've been telling you to recommend this channel, and we have noticed the difference. We've seen the subscriber per month is increasing because you guys go and recommend our channel. So please do that. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps us out. So please do that. All right, guys. Bye. Mwah.